What if the very genes, the DNA, of an entire country told a remarkable story? A story of how to survive centuries, literally centuries, of relentless war, invasion, imperial rule, and somehow, not lose its unique identity. That's precisely the really intriguing question we're exploring today. Our exploration is all about the Belarus gene pool. And our mission basically is to unpack what researchers describe as, well, a truly unique genetic saga, one of survival, of continuity, revealing surprising insights from, say, health patterns right through to deep historical connections, all hidden within Belarus's DNA. And we'll be drawing from quite extensive studies and some fascinating findings to do it.
Indeed. And one really intriguing aspect here is that Belarus holds this truly unique position. Geographically, historically, it's often been called a historical fault line, constantly sitting between East and West. And this means it has absorbed, well, countless waves of migration, conquest, and profound cultural reshaping throughout its really turbulent past.
Right. And you'd expect that kind of constant upheaval to completely reshape a population's genetic makeup, wouldn't you? To leave a sort of patchwork of genetic signatures from every empire, every invader that passed through. But what's truly striking, and this is the key thing, is that researchers point to Belarus having preserved one of the most stable core genetic signatures in Eastern Europe. Despite that history, how is that even possible? What kind of genetic mix have they actually found in there?
It's a fascinating paradox, really. If we connect this to the bigger picture, historians often emphasize that Belarus sits right on that ancient border, the border of Baltic and East Slavic tribes. And what's so compelling is that this dual heritage, it isn't just some historical footnote. It's vividly visible in the genetic evidence itself. The core insight here, I think, is how this genetic stability allows such a unique blend. You've got Baltic, Slavic, Finno-Ugric, even Viking traces, to persist and evolve rather than just being overwritten by later movements.
Okay, so this idea of a genetic crosspoint is quite literal then. It's not just a metaphor. So when researchers started, digging into the actual DNA, what were the most significant findings? What emerged about these different influences?
Well, a key study back in 2018 by the Estonian Biocenter provided some really clear insights into that cross-cultural mosaic. They found that over 50% more than half of Belarusian men carry Y-DNA haplogroup R1A. Now, Y-DNA haplogroups, just to remind everyone, are genetic markers passed down exclusively through the paternal line, so they give us a direct window into male ancestry. And R1A is, well, it's very common among Slavic and Indo-European populations. It's especially linked to early Kievan Rus and those vast steppe migrations.
Okay, so very strong, very ancient Slavic connection is definitely woven in there. That makes sense. What other genetic signatures emerged? Any other ancient threads?
Yes, absolutely. Around 15 to 18% of Belarusian men carry haplogroup N1C1. Now, this particular genetic marker is associated more with Finno-Ugric and Baltic groups. You see it more commonly in populations like Estonians, Latvians, and some Finnish populations as well. It's a really clear genetic echo of those Finno-Ugric and Baltic historical ties. It's not just a number, it's like a living map of ancient migrations, really.
A living map. I like that.
And additionally, mtDNA studies, those track the maternal lineage, the mother side. They show a remarkably diverse maternal heritage, including haplogroups like H, U5, and T2. Now, this suggests Neolithic and Mesolithic continuity in the region, which means genetic lines stretching back, way back, to the earliest known human populations in Europe thousands of years ago are still present today.
Wow, thousands of years.
Exactly. So what this truly tells us is that Belarus isn't just geographically situated between cultures, it's genetically made from them. It's a truly ancient and, hybrid crossroads.
That really paints a vivid picture. Deep historical layering, right there in the genes. And building on that idea of genetic continuity you mentioned earlier, I'm curious about how significant this stability truly is, especially, in a region so prone to upheaval. We often hear about populations being completely reshaped by migrations, don't we?
Oh, it's exceptionally significant and honestly quite rare in a European context. Consider this. A 2021 genome-wide study, this one looked across Minsk, Rodna, and Vitebsk regions. It found minimal genetic difference between modern Belarusians and ancient East Slavic samples from over 1,000 years ago.
1,000 years. Minimal difference.
Minimal difference. To put that in perspective, many parts of Europe saw really dramatic shifts in their gene pools because of massive population movements, invasions, migrations. This study also revealed a low frequency of recent admixture. That means gene flow or mixing from Western Europe, which points towards periods of historical cultural isolation, particularly during, say, the Soviet and Tsarist eras.
So unlike some places where you see these huge influxes, Belarus's genetic story seems to be more about subtle evolution rather than dramatic overhaul.
Exactly that. It makes Belarus a rare genetic snapshot of early East Slavic ancestry, especially on a continent that has been profoundly shaped by continuous modern migrations. It offers really unique insights into long-term population stability.
Okay. Now, when we talk about identity, especially in a region with such a complex past, things can get, well, politically sensitive, can't they?
Right.
Belarusian identity itself has been sort of caught between Russian, Polish, and Lithuanian narratives for decades. So what does this genetic data actually mean in that context? How does it play into these discussions?
Well, this raises a really important question, doesn't it, about how genetic data is interpreted, and sometimes, frankly, misinterpreted. On one hand, you have some nationalist groups who have attempted to, let's say, leverage this genetic data to claim a pure Slavic ancestry for Belarus, trying to tie it more exclusively to certain ethnic narratives. But then, on the other hand, you have others arguing that the strong Baltic genetic heritage actually proves closer historical and cultural ties to Lithuania, ties to pre-Slavic cultures. It's a tension, really, between Slavicization and cultural revival, and you often see it reflected in how these DNA results are discussed publicly.
So there's a real tug of war kind of over what these genes mean for national identity today.
Absolutely. But, scientists are generally very clear in their warning. Genetic identity doesn't map neatly onto language or politics. It just doesn't work like that. In fact, studies consistently show Belarusians are genetically more similar to Poles, Ukrainians, and Lithuanians than many might realize. Regardless of current political narratives or historical disputes, the scientific consensus really emphasizes that these genetic markers represent deep, intertwined historical connections, not necessarily exclusive political affiliations. It highlights the complex, interconnected nature of populations in this region, rather than supporting any single, simplified, nationalistic claim.
That's a powerful reminder, isn't it? That science can illuminate things, but it can also be used or misused in many ways.
Okay.
So moving beyond these identity debates, does this genetic research have any practical applications? Especially when it comes to, say, unique medical insights for the population.
Oh, definitely, yes. The Belarus gene pool has revealed some specific and medically relevant patterns that can really impact health strategies. For instance, researchers have found a higher prevalence of glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase deficiency, that's G6PD, in certain Belarusian populations compared to their immediate Slavic neighbors. This could possibly be due to historical founder effects, where a small founding population carried this trait and it just became more common over generations in relative isolation.
Right, and that's vital information for understanding potential health risks for screening.
Exactly. And there's more. We also see a regional spike in something called CYP2D6 slow metabolizer alleles, particularly in eastern Belarus. Now, this affects how individuals metabolize certain drugs. It has really significant implications for prescribed medications, especially things like psychiatric drugs and some pain medications. Doctors really need to be aware of this genetic predisposition when they're tailoring treatments for people from this region.
That makes sense. Any other interesting medical findings?
Well, another intriguing one is a lower frequency of lactase persistence genes, the LCT gene. This means many Belarusians may be genetically predisposed to lactose intolerance, which is quite surprising, actually, given that dairy is such a staple in traditional Belarusian cuisine.
Huh. That is surprising. So traditional diet versus underlying genetics. Fascinating. Okay, so really practical applications there, helping tailor precision medicine. And now for maybe an even more fascinating twist, the unexpected historical connections revealed directly in the genes. What have researchers unearthed there?
Yeah, it's quite remarkable how these ancient trade routes, things you might think of as just lines in dusty history books, are literally etched into modern genetics. Some studies showed distinct traces of Norse ancestry, specifically Viking ancestry, especially in northern Belarus. This is directly linked to the Brand genes. Those were the Viking traders and warriors who played such a crucial role in founding the early Rus states in Eastern Europe. Their journeys, their settlements, they left a lasting genetic mark.
Vikings. That's amazing. And it's not just Vikings, is it? What about the vast Grand Duchy of Lithuania?
Yeah.
That encompassed much of modern-day Belarus for centuries. Did that also leave a genetic footprint?
Absolutely. Yes. During the period of the Grand Duchy of Lithuania, Belarus was part of this large, diverse, really multicultural empire. And this historical period brought Tatar, Jewish, and also reinforced those Baltic genetic markers into the mix. And some of these traces still exist in urban Belarusian genomes today. It really speaks to a long, rich history of cultural exchange, integration, and coexistence, all still visible in the genetic landscape.
Wow. It's like layers upon layers of history, all there in the DNA. So after this deep dive, let's try and bring it together. Why is the Belarus gene pool so special? It truly seems like a testament to endurance, doesn't it? In the face of so much upheaval and change.
It truly is. I think it represents resilience, fundamentally, and continuity in the face of centuries of attempts at erasure or assimilation. This genetic story holds so many threads, East and West, pagan and Orthodox traditions, Baltic and Slavic roots. It's all in there. It's a powerful reminder, I think, that in a world of constantly shifting borders and changing political narratives, Belarus's genetic story remains remarkably consistent. It's a living testament to a complex ancient identity. And importantly, it's still open to interpretation, depending on the lens you apply.
Absolutely. Which leads us to a final thought for you, the listener. What do you think? Can a population be both ancient and hybrid at the same time? It seems Belarus suggests yes. And maybe the bigger question, how much should genetics inform national identity? Or perhaps should it even help us dismantle some of our preconceived notions about identity entirely? Something to ponder after this deep dive.